Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading It by Stephen King. Okay, so I have actually watched the movies that were created after this book, and I've been wanting to read the book ever since to compare it and see what was different and what was similar and what was better, like the book or the movies. And yeah, I decided to read it now, even though it's definitely not like in the Christmas spirits. But on the other hand, I do love horror, so this is kind of my comfort thing, and I guess that is what the Christmas spirit is about, right? So yeah, anyway, there will definitely be spoilers about what happens in this book. And having said that, let's just go into the reading footage. Okay, so I am on page 359, I think, which means I'm like 1/3 of the way through this book. Oh my god, this is really heavy. And well, let's just start by saying that, also I'm gonna put this down because this is heavy. I want to start by saying that I have watched the movies, like the most recent versions, and I liked part one, like I thought it was good, but I hated, and I mean I hated, the end of the second movie. I hated it so much, and my friend who was watching it with me also hated it so much. So yeah, I don't know if the ending of the book is the same as the ending of the movie, but I hated the ending of the movie, so there is that. Also, having watched the movie is definitely like working in my favor because there are like 30,000 main characters who are boys, and with 30,000 I mean like 5 or 6. And if I didn't have the faces to associate them to, I would confuse everyone. And I still confuse Eddie with Richie. I'm always like, which one is Eddie and which one is Richie? So yeah, if I hadn't watched the movie, I would be way more lost. And also, I thought that the book was divided like the movies, you know, like the children, like one part, and then the second part of the book would be like the adults. But it's not, it's like one part of the children, then adults, and then children, and then adults. And I mean, it made sense that for the movie they divided it like in 2 years, because it would be a lot easier to understand than just a jumbled mess of when they were children and when they were adults. But yeah, I thought the book was going to be like that, but it's clearly not. And getting into the book, it starts the same way the movie starts, if I'm remembering correctly, which is with Georgie like playing with his paper boat and being killed by Pennywise. Moving on, we get to like the future where they are adults. And that's in 1985. I wrote it down. And so we are in 1985 and they're all adults. And they all, like it's 6 of them, plus the guy that's back in whatever the name of the town is that I forgot. And the 6 of them get a call from the guy that was back in the town where they live, who is called Mike. And so Mike calls the 6 of them, and we basically have a chapter for each one of them and like how they received the call. And like, so in the movie we got like a whole movie with the kids, right? And then we got the adults, and at the beginning of the movie of the adults, Stanley commits suicide after he receives the call. And I liked him in the movie when there were children, so you know that was kind of like an impactful death because I already liked the character. But in the book, like, Stanley dies before we even get to know him as a child. So, like, I feel like who would care about Stanley if you just know that, he's dead? It's like not impactful, I feel like. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. After they get the calls, they all get back to whatever the town was called, and they start remembering what happened because they have forgotten. But they all had promised that they would get back there if things started again, and things have started. And so they are remembering as they're going back. And then we have some chapters with the kids, and I think that's 1958, 1957? 1958. And so we get a bunch of chapters with the kids. And there's like a lot of stuff, and that's a thing about Stephen King. But I feel like in this book, I mean, not just in this book, like I remember when I read The Shining, like I was bored through a lot of it. And actually I'm not as bored here, but I guess that's also because I really like the characters because I connected them to them in the movies. So it's easier for me to like read random things about them and not be bored or like as bored. But yeah, like he writes a lot and like in a lot of detail about a lot of things that I don't care and are not like really relevant to the plot. So yeah, we got a bunch of things with the kids. But basically, like after a lot of things happen, they all get together and they talk about their experiences with Pennywise, but like in different forms. And after they all talk about it, Bill and Richie go to the house on Evil Street, which is where Eddie like saw Pennywise. And they get attacked and like they barely escape, but they do escape. And yeah, but that's basically like the last thing I read was them escaping from the house on Evil Street. And I know that that house, at least in the movie, it's like gonna be a lot more relevant after this as well. So yeah, like I'm definitely excited for that, but also I'm kind of bored. And I have been listening to the audiobook, thank God, because I don't know how I would get through this. Also, the audiobook is 44 hours long. Even listening on like 2.5 times speed, which is what I'm doing, it's a lot of hours. It's a whole lot of hours. But the audiobook like is great. I think the narrator is so good. And there's a character, again, I don't know if it's Eddie or Richie, but I'm pretty sure it's Richie. Because I think like Richie is the one that's like really annoying with the voices. So like it must be him. And he makes like a bunch of different voices and like the narrator is so good. And also his Pennywise voice is so creepy. And also speaking of Pennywise, I want more Pennywise because he's been in some chapters like a little bit, like sprinkled in there, but I definitely want more Pennywise. I want the fear, That's what I'm here for. And yeah, that's what's been going on. I'm enjoying it, but I am not loving it. And this book is gigantic. And also I have my thesis presentation tomorrow, so I am kind of freaking out. But yeah, I will get no reading done tomorrow. I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done in the weekend, like tomorrow is Friday. I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done in the weekend because my friend is gonna be here at my house. So yeah, there's that. But once I read another third of this book, I will let you know. Okay, so I have finished my master's degree and I don't know what to do with my life now. Because, like, for the longest time, like, my master's degree was the goal. Like, I chose my bachelor's degree focusing on my master's degree. Because my master's degree was, like, what I wanted. So, like, I achieved my goal, but I don't know, like, where to go from there. So, yeah, existential crisis aside, I said that I was gonna read like another third of the book and then update, but I ended up reading more than that because like I got to that point yesterday afternoon, but it was dark and I had no light to film and Last time I tried to do that, my camera kept going out of focus, so I wasn't gonna do that again. So I am actually on 74% of this book, and I am still not thrilled about it. So basically in 1985, all the adults reconnect. They all go to their hometown, which I now remember the name of. It's Derry, and it's in Maine because everything's in Maine. Like, especially horror stories. I've read and watched so many horror stories that are set in Maine that I'm just like, what is it about Maine? Anyway, they like reconnect, and Mike, which was the guy that called them, basically tells them about what's been going on in the town and the children that have been murdered, and like everything that explains why he thinks that Pennywise is back. And so they basically decide that they're going to get rid of him, or it. And they start remembering some things, but not like everything. And it's like really annoying because they're like, Mike, just tell us what happened. And he's always like, no, you have to remember for yourselves. And I was like, dude, I want to know too. So, just move on with it. But yeah, he doesn't tell them really anything. They just have to remember for themselves. And then we get like the flashbacks for 1958. And basically all those chapters that are set in 1958, they start with the adults remembering what happened. And then like gets to the flashbacks. Henry Bowers is the one who ends up getting arrested for the murders that have happened. But he has now escaped, and he is going after the others, like the 7 others, who were the kids that he used to bully in 1958. And also, Beverly's husband, who is a piece of shit, is also going after her. So, yeah, not excited for that. And Bill's wife is also going after him. I think the chapter was called like 3 unwanted guests or something like that. 3 uninvited guests. So it's like Henry, Beverly's husband, and Bill's wife. Like 3 people that are kind of like gonna meet them, and they don't want them to. And anyway, then we get to 1958, and like I said, we get the flashbacks as the adults are remembering what happened, and they see an album, like a photo album, and I think that the album was Mike's dad's. And there's like a bunch of photos, like really old, and Pennywise is in a lot of photos from like 100 years ago or like 200 years ago. And then they perform some kind of ritual with smoke, and they see like when Pennywise got to Derry. And they say that like it's kind of a spaceship, but it wasn't really a spaceship, and I was like, what does that even mean? And I don't know if I'm just like not remembering, or if it really wasn't in the movie, but I do not remember at all that scene being in the movie. But anyway, they see that, and they say that like it's a spaceship, but it's not a spaceship, and it has always been there before humanity even existed, and I'm just like, I don't understand, but okay. And basically they decide that they're going to turn silver dollars into some kind of bullets, because one of the like forms in which they saw Pennywise was a werewolf. And so they say that they're going to use the silver to kill the werewolf, but I mean, he's not a werewolf. So yeah, there's that, but that's pretty much like where I'm at. And like I said, I'm still not thrilled about this because like there's so much unnecessary stuff in this book, and like I was listening to the audiobook in 2.5 times speed, but I'm now listening on 3 times speed because I just do not have the patience. Because this book is so long. It's not just being long, because if it was long and everything was interesting, I would be, okay with it. But yeah, there's just so much stuff that's unnecessary and like so detailed and just not adding anything to the story, in my opinion. Like all the interludes, because there's an interlude between each chapter. Between each part, not each chapter, between each part. And like the interludes add nothing to the story, like really. So what are they doing there? Nothing. And yeah, so not loving this. what's like keeping me going is that I actually like kind of like the story and I like care about the characters when they're kids. When they're adults, I couldn't care less, to be honest. When it's the chapters about when they're adults, I'm just like, no, thank you. I don't really care about you. You can all die. So, yeah. But I do care about the kids and I do like the plot, but it's just so detailed, like unnecessarily detailed. So, yeah, there is that. Also, my friend is gonna present his thesis tomorrow, so I can't read tomorrow because I'm gonna be out the whole day with him, and I need to finish this book today, and today is Tuesday, or on Thursday morning, because I'm also gonna be out of the house on Friday because another one of my friends is gonna present her thesis. So, yeah, and I still have, I think, 12 hours of the audiobook to go, which at 3 times speed is 4 hours. And like 4 hours would definitely be doable today, but like I just get bored if I'm like reading this for too long because, like I said, it's so unnecessarily detailed. So, anyway, I will finish this book at some point and I will update you. Alright, so I decided to draw Pennywise. And I said this before and I'll say it again, I suck at drawing people. But, I mean, Pennywise is obviously played by a human being, but Pennywise is not human itself, so I thought I would give it a try. And even though it didn't end up as a masterpiece, it came out better than I expected. So yeah, anyway, I started with a rough sketch with the shape of Pennywise's face and its features, and then I created another layer and I basically cleaned up the sketch. And also I just want to say that I'm not an expert at digital drawing. I just started very recently, so yeah, just a disclaimer. So yeah, I cleaned up the sketch and then I added another layer and I started adding color. So I did his eyes first, and not his eyes, the area around his eyes that were kind of blue, and I was looking at a picture on my phone. And well, I added a marker texture in that first blue, and then I realized that it didn't look like I wanted it to, so I did the rest with a pencil texture. And then I was trying to find the right color for the nose. But yeah, instead of just erasing what I had done with a marker and redoing it with a pencil, I just ignored it and pretended it was fine and moved on. So yeah, I did that area around the eyes, then I painted his nose, and I am now working on his lips. And I was trying to find a darker shade of that red, deep red, but honestly they don't look as different as I wanted them to, but whatever. And then I made sure to paint his teeth yellow because they're supposed to look very disgusting, and they do. So that thing that I'm trying to draw now, it wasn't the hardest thing ever, but as you can see, I was struggling so much to make it look symmetrical. And to be honest, I didn't manage to actually make it look symmetrical, but I was done with it and I was not gonna be able to, no matter how long I spent there. So I just accepted my fate and moved on. And so it was time for the hair, and I struggle with drawing, painting, whatever, hair so much every single time, and I struggled here as well, but actually it came out better than I had anticipated. So I used a base orange, and then I used a darker orange for the root area, and then a lighter orange for the ends of the hair. And yeah, mixing all of that, it actually came out, dare I say, decent. So yeah, I did that, and then I repeated it on the other side of the head, which I'm gonna show in a second. Yeah, there we go. Then I was trying paint his face, but it the color was too dark, so I changed it. And then I did this thing where his face paint seems to be cracking, and
Originally, I think that it's not this dark, but again, I have committed and I wasn't gonna change it because that's the thing about me, like major character flaw, I don't change my mistakes, I just go with them. So yeah, I did that and then I like darkened it, like his skin a little, and that's it. That's my Pennywise.
Alright, so I have finished the book. And I'm just gonna start right away by like saying what happened. And basically, when they were adults in 1985, Henry Bowers was that guy who used to be a bully and was like trying to find the other seven. Found a Mike in the library, I think, which was like where Mike worked. And he attacked Mike and like he left him like pretty badly hurt. And then like he escaped. And so basically, Mike, who was the only person who actually remembered what they did when they were kids, was like out and couldn't help the others. So, that was great. And then Henry Bowers found Eddie in the hotel. And he tried to attack Eddie, but Eddie actually killed Henry instead. And then he called the others, and they all saw that Henry was dead. And they knew that it was time to stop Pennywise. And so then we see like a jumble of the past and the present and all of them fighting Pennywise, and they saw like its real form, and it was like sort of a spider, and it was female, and it was pregnant, and it was a whole mess. And basically in like 1985, Bill was trying to like do whatever had to be done. And then Richie went to help him, and then Eddie went to help him. Help them. And basically, Eddie died. And I remember it being like very dramatic and sad, like in the movie. And it was dramatic here, but it was sad, but since I didn't care much about the adults, I didn't care much about Eddie dying. If he had died when he was a kid, I would be very devastated because I liked them when they were kids. But as adults, whatever, Eddie died. And then they did the thing and they defeated Pennywise. And so I knew that there was some like weird ass sex scene in this book, but I didn't know what it was. And I wish I still didn't know what it was, to be honest, because like when they were kids, they felt like they were falling away. That's literally what it says here, like they were falling away from each other. And so there was only one way for them to remain together. And that was for them like to have sex. Like all of them. And when I say all of them, I don't mean like all of them with like each other. I mean like all of the boys with Beverly. And it was her idea, and I was like, if they were adults, like whatever. But they were literally 12 years old. And this scene was like 6 or 7 pages long, and I was like, that's so unnecessary and so unnecessarily long. Like, why, And I was planning on finishing the book like on that night, and I literally had 50 pages to go. But after that scene, I was just like, nope, I've had enough for tonight. No, thank you. So, yeah, that happened. And then I did finish it. And nothing really relevant happened after that. So, yeah, I am done. And also, I definitely still didn't like the ending, like the resolution of the conflict with Pennywise, because basically all they had to do was believe. And it was the same bullshit as the movie. And that's literally what I thought it was, bullshit. Like, seriously, all you have to do to defeat whatever that was is believe? Like, no. I wanted some, like real conflict, fight. If they lost, I wouldn't be mad. I just wanted something more than just belief, Because that was not satisfying. And just some bullshit. So there's that. I didn't like the ending at all. And, it definitely, like, picked up the pace in these, like, last couple hundred pages. But it was still, like, slow and boring and with so many unnecessary details. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, let's go into my final thoughts. Okay, so starting with the positives, I definitely did like the moments when something creepy was happening and when Pennywise was like part of the scenes, because I thought it was like creepy and scary, and that was definitely like what I was here for. And I mean, I also definitely like really enjoyed my audiobook experience, and if I didn't have the audiobook, I wouldn't have finished this book yet. So yeah, thank God to the audiobook, and also I think I've mentioned it in one of my updates, the narrator was like really good. So yeah, like definitely a positive, and Pennywise's appearances were also definitely something I enjoyed. Another thing I mostly enjoyed was the interactions between the kids, if we ignore the weird sex scene. So yeah, I definitely like really enjoyed their relationships when they were kids. Even when they weren't doing anything, let's just say, like productive in terms of the plot, I liked their interactions when they were playing together. It was fun. But when they were adults, I just couldn't care less, like, about them individually and about them as a group. I just didn't feel any, like, chemistry, friendship, anything between any of them. So, yeah, I really didn't care about them as adults. Now, what I really didn't like was the fact that there was so much unnecessary and unnecessarily detailed stuff happening that I just didn't care about at all, and in my opinion didn't contribute to the plot. And like, especially the interludes, they were so boring and so long, especially one of them was so long, and nothing really happened. So what was the point of them? None. And I also didn't like when there were some like random chapters about other characters that lived in the town or whatever, and they were talking about what was going on, and I was like, I don't care about you. I mean, I don't even know who you are, and I don't care about you. I was very bored at times. I just wanted to move faster. Like, if it was this long, but it was interesting all the way, that would totally be fine by me. But it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. So yeah, I definitely didn't love this. It wasn't like thrilling. It wasn't that scary, like in its entirety, because the scary scenes weren't that many. And yeah, I mean, I did definitely enjoy following the kids' journey, but there was also a bunch of things I didn't enjoy. So I think I'm gonna be giving this book 2.5 stars. Alright, so I think this is everything for this week's video. And I think next week and the weeks after that, I'm gonna be posting the videos on Thursdays, because Friday is like the 24th and the other Friday is the 31st. So I think I'm gonna like upload the videos one day early, just a heads up. So anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!